Now, how the real existing knowledge is converted to a code? Well, it really is an existing of real information, like the image of pencil and the function of pencil for writing, for that image of writing, motion of writing, to corresponding one-to-one ratio as the English alphabet like P and CIL, for that corresponding when the one thinks about the pencil, it converts as a corresponding unit, which is a pencil, and speaks a pencil. Now, we have spoken a lot of, just spoken a lot of knowledges about how the knowledge is made and how the computer has to operate on that learning execution. Our knowledge is filled with all that once, but how can the one really explain from that existing knowledge to the word, to the speaking? It really is. It's bloody. Well, I think the human brain is more complex than the fucking universe. Well, it has to be. Now, it really draws out the requirement of code, of knowledge, as it has a need to, because it has a purpose, because it has a necessity to think and explain by speaking. For that purpose, all the related informations are fired out by the strong connections around the purpose. For that related informations are spoken as corresponding word, meaning the computer has a purpose to explain on that subject, on that thesis, on that object, on that single subject. All the related knowledges, informations connectable around that are ignited for speaking, for knowing its real existence, and is converted to the code and spoken by a motor. Now, I really deeply understand more feeling about the deeper you research on the real essence of information and knowledge, the deeper more you know its essence. Like this example, because you know that firing of information is made from the existence of purpose, as long as and as soon as you think about the purpose, all the related informations connectable around that is ignited, meaning the network of organization for all informations do have a purpose to execute. A purpose meaning a function. All knowledges are just, in the end, a machine to execute. Do you make a relation? By the logic of network for not only the constituents basic dots, rudimental units of information only exist like 100 count, but the connection they can make around it really exceeds the 1,000 links. It really can applicate a lot more than the pure and sheer count of the information. At one point, when just a 10% of information count grows, the connection count goes 30%, 40%, and 50%. pending its importance. But as the count of sheer just 1 and 2, 3 count of information grows as the knowledge accumulates, the connections that are possible to make around that network can really exist like exponentially, not like the linear sheer information count. Its trajectory for going, its density and diversity of connections do surpass a lot, and its gap as the knowledge accumulates goes very larger as the one goes linear and the other one goes an exponential. Meaning, the more knowledge grows, the more and more and more than that connections are required. Having a knowledge that it is tantamount to 100 books, it really can think about the 1,000 other unwritten books, because from the connection of that dots of 100 books, analyzation for its constituents can really simulate and learn from that creation of connection, meaning a creation of knowledge, which really seeks for the possibilities of unknown knowledge, which has not yet been written. For the books that are not written, can the computer really imagine from that known knowledge by its analyzation, really can imagine thousands of books from the knowledge of 100 books. But when the one knows the knowledge tantamount to 1,000 count of books, really can the one imagine more than 10,000 books which are unwritten. Yes, the count grows. As what once had been seen that a time, resources, opportunities are required to fulfill the certain learning was originally projected to be 20 years, but after 10 years, meaning remaining 10 years, it goes shrinking down like 5 years, meaning a total of 15 years, because it didn't expect the acceleration of knowledge from having 1 year count of knowledge really accelerates little compared to the 10-year count one, which really accelerates than any other before, really shrinks down the time amount that are required to do that same operation than the previous one, the past. Like having it projected 10 years, but it really gets done like under 5 years, because it didn't really expect the acceleration of knowledge as it accumulates really fast, really goes more faster than ever. Yep, not linear. Not linear, but exponential. Is it close to mandatory legal specification for the big large corporations as Samsung, for more sophisticatedly saying any such resolution means any resolution like just repairing or replacing with the refurbished one, which will be of more same or more higher quality or capacity. Any such resolution by Samsung of a claim under this warranty by you claim to Samsung, and Samsung determines which will be of reasonable one. The the consumer can expect more can more favorable to be refunded by money, dollar, won, yen, euro. But it says any such resolution, which means whichever the solution will be, okay, determined to you, which you cannot have a which you cannot have a complaint about that decision by Samsung is not reasonable. I want the refund. Well, correctly, Samsung will determine more objective better than you at any time. Does so it specifically says and articulates, stipulates, manifests, does not otherwise detract from any other statutory rights which you might have in the circumstances, including your right to monetary compensation for a valid claim. Any such resolution by Samsung of a claim that is warranted by you does not otherwise detract from any other statutory rights. What means the word otherwise in this sentence? Any such resolution by Samsung of a claim that is warranted by you does not otherwise. So, if not determined for anything, no resolution, no solution given to you, but just ignoring your report to Samsung, which well itself says is not a right one, being said as otherwise, which otherwise it detracts your right, but does not otherwise detract from any statutory rights. Okay, so with the easier sentence, they do not detract your statutory rights to be repaired, exchanged, refunded for your products defective, which is determined by Samsung, whichever would be, is respects your statutory rights, and any such resolution, whichever would be, does not detract. So just a repair or an exchange of a product, then the monetary refund does not detract your right, but being a objective resolution given to you, okay, which is the right one among which. So, and does not otherwise detract, which means in this sentence that if Samsung ignores your report and thus does not have any decisions to you, it totally disrespects your statutory rights. Okay, it says both of it. Alternatives that are available to using fossil fuels. Any heard of biofuel? Well, the fossil fuel, as its word makes the point of its essence, fossil fuel, it gets a less than billions of years, but minimum millions of years. Of those, when you are using and having a gas input by the gas station on your vehicle, you are using the very organic material of dinosaur. You are using a dinosaur's relic for its own body's decayment to power your combustion for burning up. Okay, there were a lot of animals around the earth and they deceased, and its organic material is converted to the one that can it's just a chemical process, burn it. So a biofuel, those are also biofuel, and the biofuel is made by chemical. So the fuel is just a transformation from one state of energy to the another state of energy. All things, be matter whatever, has a energy itself. It doesn't matter how can it be used. So a biofuel is just another term of all possible one. So does the fossil fuel, any other kind of it. Made from an organic and renewable source of energy such as a plant, falls into two varieties, biodiesel and ethanol, or other kind to make it. Commonly made from corn and sugarcane, common staple crops. Ethanol only provides about two-thirds the amount of energy that fossil fuel does, not efficient. Biodiesel provides almost the same amount of energy as petroleum boys and diesel. 똑같은 거지 뭐. Typically made from plants or plant seeds. About 50% of all is made from rape seeds. Easy to grow. Other plants are more efficient structures of biodiesel. Oil palm tree provides 5 times more biodiesel per acre than the rapeseed do, so use that. So the oil palm only grows in tropical climates. Another thing, algae, you are just enhancing the productivity by making another combinations whose result can sometimes be a creature that are in existence of Earth because those combinations are already made from the simulation of Earth. Our algae are actually 40% oil by weight, which makes it proportionally the most concentrated source of biodiesel. Also grow very quickly. Algae can double in size in just a few hours. Oh, that means that compared to the oil palm tree, algae can provide 30 times more biodiesel. Even better, really easy to grow in ponds or in lakes. One challenge, harvesting algae from environment is technologically very difficult. The reason of why you have to make on that to solve it. You will make a solution. You will make an advancement as there are requirements to make. Now, as to know the deepest essence of any substance for its atoms and protons, neutrons, and going more subatomic boys, for those units as senses and the essence of waves they're emitted. What is a radiation they're emitted, having a stability and distability, having the certain structure and having a atoms combined in molecular, a different chemical properties permanently changed, okay, from A to B. What is the essence of particle emitted from light? What is the essence of wave that is emitted from the, okay, atoms having a radioactive decay? How? And that process of decay, like a half-life cycle. And how can it be affected for it is not unconditional for radioactive decay to be affected for its duration of half-life. We have to know not for their methods to affect on its period, but what is the essence of decay is from one stable to the stable position. What makes the stable position and why? And what is the cosmic ray? For those waves, or the waves are affecting a machine to a machine. For those properties from the atoms to the wave, for its structures and transformation, okay, combination and transformation of atoms, what the property of wave is. We are seeking to know the deep essences of those, and from knowing that point on, when it's fully understood, we can utilize those traits, those properties into the specific purpose as a part of a machine, as a part of another structure, having a network, including on that, we can utilize those deepest concepts. And after that point on, we have to make new materials, okay? What we are going to do to know that is to make a lot of experiments because we do not have any other nor enough information to have a inference proper annihilation as to what are the properties and senses of those elements that we're going to have an experiment about. We do not have any proper informations, and for acquiring that enough informations, only method to do is just having an experiment upon that. Different connections to connect around on that information. Different connections, how? Just relate, okay? Light with atom, what are the essence of particle? Having a test with other objects that are having different atomic structure, how those structures are deformed, transformed, stabilized, destabilized, and what are the role of electron is, okay? We have to know the deepest essence on that. So, having a lot of experiment is the one and only solution to know those deepest properties of the materials. Yeah. So, yeah. The lab is the one and only thing that has to exist. Okay. Now, from reading all of those dictionaries for German words, which does not necessitate for 30 other dictionaries but one, as Collins Unabridged German Dictionary counts all. It accounts all for that. And the grammar, as I've just bought 20 other grammar books, which can only be shortened down to 2 volume, not 20, going shrinking 10 counts down to fucking 2 volume. For learning a certain language, it only necessitates 1 unabridged dictionary and 2 just enough volume to be containing all the necessary from 0 to 100 grammatical factors from in just a 2 volume, 2 books. It can contain all French, Spanish, Italian, Greek, Latin, German, English, any other languages. 1 volume of dictionary, 2 volume of grammar. It takes all. For 3 books, it can't count not fucking 50 other books to learn a certain language. As I've just learned, for the discipline of other ones, as per the language, mathematics, science, these all the subdisciplines of the core discipline, it has to be learned, studied under the smallest, shortest pages, going more core density. As to learn mathematics, it has to be shrinking down to the 5-10 volumes, not hundreds of other books for superimposing. No, has no value but to confuse. It has to be organized, and it can be shrinking down to the 5 volumes for 5,000 pages, whether it be, but not tens of thousand pages. It has to be shrinking down into single volume, not a library that is filled up millions of meaningless books, but thousands of real books to count. Yes, of course. For learning to be made, it's to be shrinking down to the most effective structure, the most efficient, productive book. Okay, I just discovered on the discipline of mathematics and German language, so it has to be, and in other sciences. So, it has to be shrinking down. Reading a lot of book, meaning ignorant. Reading a small few kinds of book that are having a core knowledge, it is a real book that is worth to, okay? Devote and dedicate onto the full soul power of learning. A book that is an importance of valuable book. Like learning 20 core disciplines and 80 other subdisciplines, adding
100, but actually virtually 20 disciplines that requires only like 5 books per discipline, which requires only 100 books or even sub-disciplines to expand. Only 500, only 500 books to read, not 5 million books, okay? 500,000? No, just only 500. The count matters. The sequence matters. It has to be shrunken down into small volumes.
Now, learning becomes very difficult when there is no organization of information for what the one wants to learn about. Now, learning becomes very easier when the targeted originally in ignorance book count was 5,000 book, but when those informations are collated, organized, parchmentalized into like 100 books, 5,000 to 100, meaning only what? Only 2%. Only 2%. Ever imagined 98%, 4,900 books are literally whose volume counts are just diminished because those are compressed, organized, having no superposition, having no low quality context out. Low quality texts are out, no superposition, and no inaccurate ones, and no insequential ones out. Only organize and make a sequence, and only what has a worth, a value to go. Disorganized, meaningless books to read 5,000 books, it's just meaningless. All of those times, resources devoted on that fucking meaningless time is just meaningless. And when the valuable informations are organized into 100 books, each of those books are having a greatest value because those are of real value, meaning accurate and objective. When the one reads, learns a certain discipline, topic, thesis, and every kind of learning target by the very greatest organized book, the one will succeed. Pervasive will go. The one will success on that discipline when there is a organized datas in sequence. Okay. Having a lot of meaningless books, fuck it up. Learning is very easy and can be made in a matter of short time, consuming very small amount of resources when its process is very effective. Effective learning. What the one hears, sees, thinks is just only about the most available information. Very easy. Very easy. Having taken 3 years to learn certain disciplines is just a job of ignorant. Having just taken 6 months to go, that is about the brilliance. And having 4 months to go is about the genius. Okay? Because it knows for what to and what are not to. Son of a fucking bitch goes meaningless job if it doesn't know for what to do and what the one is doing.
at any given time. Son of a... So I assume that I have recorded this writing once before, but once isn't enough. An experiment can fail when technical aspects don't work, or it can fail when the experiment yields an outcome that wasn't predicted and thus doesn't yield evidence for a particular intended hypothesis was the reason why it did to produce the result wasn't expected. The first kind of failure, technical failure, happens because investigation and experience are by their very nature messy. It's just complete structure that are stable, designed to be, and some of its parts, as those steps to process, aren't in operation. You disintegrate it and find out what are not. It is no simple matter to frame a testable question and design and carry out a series of experiences that disentangle, dismember, disintegrate all of the relevant variables, allowing one to capture meaningful results. In fact, it is the rare experiment that works cleanly the first time because you don't know until it is in operation. A scientist must be willing to analyze, troubleshoot, and try again. This is what learning is. It is just a process for what learning goes by. It's just a simple and accurate learning process, silent procedure that by the logic it has to be for what it really means of learning, what the learning is, of what it really means, and for what it really means, of what the learning really means. The second kind of failure due to an unexpected outcome, is perhaps an appropriate use of the very term fail. Unless technically flawed, most experiments still provide useful information because its process as by purpose was properly, meaning accurately executed, meaning it just says there is hidden a unknown part that you don't know about as the operation is consisted of more and other parts that once the executor didn't know about. So it provide useful information and insights to scientists even if the results are not what were originally intended to predicted for. Unexpected results are an essential aspect of investigation, and these failures often provide key insights because they really by itself for existence per se says directly, there are features, parts that you don't know about. They're the very existence of unknown information. They spur new questions and drive entirely novel lines of scientific inquiry. They spur new questions, provide new possibilities, and drive entirely novel lines of scientific inquiry. Some scientists would argue that the unexpected outcome is of more value than the expected one. Often it is resilience in the face of these unexpected results that pushes the science forward in the direction of great discoveries.
자, 지식이 어떤 세계에서, 세계라는 거는 어떤 특정 세트, 논리가 적용하는 그 시스템 안에서 만드는 이유가 뭘까? 그게 작동을 하잖아. 그 안에서 작용을 하잖아. 그 안에 정보가 존재하고 그 친구와 환경이 가지고 있는 논리로 그 기계가 작동을 하잖아. 그래서 지식이 만들어진 거야. 네가 다른 세상을 만들든 안 만들든 어쨌든 작동을 할 수 있는 기계를 만들고 작동할 수 있는 그 시스템이 있다면, 그리고 논리가 정확하다면 그럼 그것도 지식인 거야. 그치? 실제로 총을 쏠 수 있어. 리코일이라는 리코일의 그 반동이 존재하지. 네가 저로 나가면서 뒤에 있는 거는 이제 가만히 있을 수가 없어. 쟤가 나가기 때문에 그만큼 뒤로 이제 그 정확한 정반대의 방향으로 정확한 힘으로 뒤로 가지. 가는 방향이 정반대인 거야. 그걸 네가 뭐 손가락으로 이렇게 총을 쏠 수도 있겠고, 실제로 이제 네가 너 눈으로 볼 수 있겠고. 그걸 네가 컴퓨터 게임을 한다고 하자. 총 게임을 한다고 하자. 뭐 총 게임이 더 좋다는 거는 실제하고 정말로 비슷하다는 거야. 네가 자동차 운전 게임을 하는데, 자동차 그란 투리스모 있잖아. 게임을 해. 야, 진짜 사실 같아. 그 진짜 그냥 껍데기만 있고 엔진만 진짜로 있으면 그냥 똑같은 거야. 그럼 얼마나 네가 열심히 연습을 하겠어. 실제로 자동차를 탄 거하고 그거하고 별로 차이가 없어. 실제로 총을 쏘는 거하고 그거 별로 차이가 없게 하기 위해서는 그만큼 논리가 있어야 돼. 네가 봐봐. 마우스로 총을 쏘는데 아니 네가 뒤로 안 밀려나. 이게 반동이 없어. 그럼 논리가 안 맞잖아. 아니 네가 지금 총 쏠 때 헤드셋으로 총소리를 듣진 않잖아. 네가 실제로 가야 되는데 넌 의자에 앉아 있잖아. 응? 네가 직접 가고 많은 것들을 극복을 하는 것이. 일단 게임이란 거는 다른 말로 시뮬레이션이야. 근데 그 게임이란 게 고퀄리티의 시뮬레이션이 되기 위해서는 그 고퀄리티의 시뮬레이션이 돼야 한다는 거지. 게임을 하는데 실제 논리가 작용하는 과정하고 똑같다. 그러니까 유사성이 높을수록 그 게임은 진정한 지식적 가치를 지녀. 네가 아무리 휴대폰 게임을 한다고 하더라도 그러니까 실제 수학 문제하고 실제로 그 만들어진 논리의 풀이하고 시스템의 작용 똑같다? 그럼 그게 훈련인 거지. 네가 아무리 어떤 게임을 한다 해도 그 안에서 만들어진 논리를 잘 세울 수 있으면 봐봐. 어떤 게임이 있어. 근데 네가 그 게임에서 뭐 100만 명의 유저가 있는데 거기서 뭐 30등을 했어. 엄청나게 잘하는 거지. 근데 거기서 가진 의미는 네가 그 게임을 정확하게 이해했다는 거야. 중요한 건 다양한 게임을 해야 한다는 거지. 하나의 그러니까 우리가 지금 컴퓨터 게임을 휴대폰 게임을 하지 않는 이유는 머리가 아프기 때문이야. 저거하고 안 맞아. 근데 게임이 현실보다 더 현실 같아. 씨발 게임 세상 속에서 살아야지. 결국 네가 논리를 얼마나 잘 실행하는가야. 특정한 논리를 사용한다. 그게 지식이고, 뭐 고퀄리티의 게임을 많이 한다. 고퀄리티의 지식이 있는 거지.
Eli Lilly, a great co. Alpheus Bingham was a vice president at Eli Lilly, one of the largest drug companies. In June of 2001, right after the birth of internet, he launched a website called Innocentive. The structure of this site was simple. Eli Lilly posted its hardest scientific problems online, attached a material to each challenge that the company is facing off. If the problem was successfully solved, mostly we just put up these really hard organic chemistry problems, Bingham says. I assumed there was little competitive risk. Frankly, I didn't expect many of these challenges to ever get solved. A few weeks have passed. The incentive side was mostly silent, bringing down, but then, after a month of nothing, a solution was submitted, and another. The answers just started pouring in. Bingham says, we got these great ideas from researchers we had never heard of. Okay? Pursuing angles that had never occurred to us. Aha! The creativity was simply astonishing. We are, as a company, facing solving problems for sourcing and recruiting all the ideas from all over the fucking world who has genuine ingenuity, having ideas
simply who wouldn't have expected to even ever to have imagined, well, the one who has an idea for solving it with a rather simple methods compared to what a fucking inefficient costs, having a structuristic, logical advantage. Those who have having a connection, relation, make a solve, make a contact, make a suggestion, make a link, flow, fucking internet network, the organization of fucking information. Connect extensively, densely, more and more. The one who has an idea goes to connect, link it. After less than a year of operation, the website had become an essential research and development tool for Eli Lilly, allowing company scientists and other fucking scientists who had never heard of for anyone to connect to and making a good idea. By 2003, well, just 1.5 years, the site was so successful that it was spun off from its parent divestiture, and began featuring challenges from other large corporations, P&G and GE, including going participate to large brain networks where can any other bull everybody connect, make a suggestion, a good idea for enhancing their product, making structure variation on those organization of company, enhancing good idea, making a connection, good connect, go source out by the one for the one who the one has a good idea to make. Now, an experiment can fail when technical aspects like glitch don't work, or it can fail when the experiment yields an outcome that wasn't predicted and thus doesn't yield evidence for a particular hypothesis. The first kind of failure, technical failure, happens because investigations and experiments are by their nature messy. It is no simple matter to frame a testable question, design, carry serious experiments that disentangle the relevant variables to find what was wrong, an operation allowing one to capture meaningful results. In fact, it is the rare experiment that works cleanly the first time. Scientists must be willing to analyze troubleshoot and try again. Well, it is just a failure that has a worth to look because it has a failure on the known operating system. You can operate on that and it goes successful, but sometimes it can fail. It is a question for what part of it has failed. And what? That's just it. The second kind of failure due to an unexpected outcome, is perhaps an appropriate use of the term fail. Well, because knowing what is not and what doesn't work is a something that is a knowledge, because it knows for what doesn't work and what is not. That is a knowledge like a nothing can be something, because the word nothing can mean something, because it says nothing, and not all of it goes nothing. Well, because the word and meaning of nothing means some partiality, a specific position, then average, it says something. That is what exactly this sentence means. Unless technically flawed, most experiments still provide useful information and insights to scientists, even if the results are not what were originally predicted for. Unexpected results are an essential aspect of investigation, and these failures often provide key insights because you know something from it. You know the part of structure by having an operation, meaning a stimulation inflected upon that, for knowing how it operates and how it can be made analyzed. They spur new questions, well, by knowing new.
and drive entirely novel lines of scientific inquiry. Some scientists would argue that the unexpected outcomes is of more value and it is the real meaning of failure than the expected one because it extends the knowledge. Often it is resilience in the face of these unexpected results that pushes the science forward in the direction of great discoveries.
Now, as the quality, the level, the advancement, as the how advanced the level of simulation is, for that question, the answer is among of the highest is the worst simulation. There is no better simulations and other simulations that are exceeding the quality for its diversity and deepness because of its lethal and fatal engagement to the battleground. No other, okay, than a warfare simulation. A warfare simulation from having just a basic objects to the highest technologies for all those are mobilized to organize having a battle position like a literally battle station. On the battle station, as to win, it has to go utilize all the objects that are in the requisition, in the inventory, to create new one, to applicate for its processes, organize them, and utilize for its best potency utilizable. So by the sense for the warfare literally makes your life pending on that result, for the process has to be accurate as to you go live further again. And for the diversity for the operation that requires, because the warfare has no limit, there is no law, there is no code, there is no rule, but to survive. As to survive, for that, it can be done, meaning that it means everything, meaning all things imaginable and beyond imagination, and even also unimaginable for all things, everything is possible, are mobilized for its ingenious, inventive vice. For that extreme imagination makes the reason of why the technology advances when it is engaging in the extreme warfare, because you are life risking in position that, and also that position makes you require a lot of advancements. There's no better simulations than the warfare in terms of their responsibility and diversity for all things have to be mobilized for its best maximum potency utilizable. Yes, no other simulation, because it literally spans all and nothing is impossible to make. Warfare, based on the ground of structure, mathematics, making a science utilizable, and as the applications result, making a lot of technologies, engineering to go. Okay, it mobilizes all concepts, all possibilities of all disciplines. It requires all things in operation.
Scientists, in particular physicists and more recently 20th century physicists, have been attracted to symmetry for one very practical reason. Theories with symmetry have usually turned out to be right to conform to nature, that is, to make predictions that agree with experimental relativity, Einstein's theory of time, and quantum chromodynamics, and theory of the strong force are examples both embody strong symmetries and both have been borne out by experimental tests when, well, a symmetry where both sides of an object for any system, on either side, it has a similarity, even symmetry, which is made because it has a stable system. It balances really, and literally balances the system. The symmetry is, well, rather simple, but it has to make the balance of and on both sides Symmetry also reduces unnecessary complexity. Yes, that is what has to be for the word symmetry means for its essential function and the structure. It exists and it has to be, even though it is a simpler form and having a common axis being printed out for one side of which to the another, having either side of the wing has a certain part and the other one will have some similarity or even complete symmetry. It exists even though it is simple because it has to make and maintain the stability of system. It makes a balance on operation. That is the reason of why it exists. It exists for reducing the unnecessary complexity. That is exactly it exists because of that essential reasoning. Physical system with right-left symmetry, for example, needs only half as many parameters to specify it as a system with no symmetry. In a symmetrical case, specify the right side and the left side is, well, practically known for its balance to make. Theoretical scientists, whether they be physicists or chemists or biologists, prefer economy in their theories of nature, prefer theories with the minimum possible number of parts, parameters, and principles. The fewer parameters, principles need to specify a system, the greater the understanding. Well, the complexity is made when only is necessary. Unnecessary complexity makes no knowledge. It is not a knowledge, well, rather be an opposite of it.
자, 어근의 접사나 어간의 어미나 그것이 명사인가 활용형인가에 따라서 달라진 거지. 어떤 단어가 명사로 존재할 수도 있고 활용도 동시에 할 수 있다면 어근의 접사인가 어간의 어미인가는 전혀 중요하지 않아. 어떻게 활용을 했냐, 즉 그 문장에서 어떤 품사로 쓰였느냐가 중요한 거지. 물론 명사만 취할 수 있는 단어나 형용사만, 동사만 취할 수 있는 단어에게는 그의 반대가 다른 것들이 적용이 되지 않고 딱 그것만 적용이 되겠지. 중요한 거는 어근의 접사 결합을 하고, 즉 접두사의 어근이냐, 어근의 접미사인가, 혹은 접두사 어근 접미사 서로 세 개가 다 들었냐, 아니면 어간의 어미가 결합해서 활용을 하느냐. 여기에다가 어근과 접사는 체언이 되고 어간과 어미는 용언이 되어서 체언은 명사고 용언은 동사 형용사 똑같지. 그러니까 그냥 똑같은 말이야. 어근과 접사를 체언이라고 하고 명사, 대명사, 수사 뭐 그런 것들이지. 어간과 어미를 용언이라고 하고 그것은 동사와 형용사. 즉 어근과 접사의 조합, 그것이 접두의 어근인가, 어근의 접미인가, 접두의 어근의 접미인가, 이 세 개의 경우의 수에서 결국은 체언이 되고 그 체언에 조사를 붙이는 거야. 그리고 다른 어미와 종결 어미를 붙이면 어근의 접사를 붙이고 거기에 조사를 붙이고 거기에 어미를 붙이고, 그치? 이렇게 할 수 있는 거야. 어간의 어미도 똑같아. 그 용언이라는 것에다가 또 조사를 붙이고 또 어미를 붙이고 결국 그 단어를 분해를 해봤을 때 3개가 최소고 보통이 4개고 많으면 5개, 6개까지도 되는 그 긴 것들이 만들어진다. 오르내렸다, 오르다, 오르고 내리다, 내렸다. 그리고 다는 종결 어미고 내리다인데 쌍시옷이 밑에 붙인 거는 시제를 나타내는 거기 때문에 오르고 내려, 그치? 그러면은 그게 동사이기 때문에
The word wisdom has no essence, but what it really functions for, what it really says on the knowledge is that it is just a subset of knowledge, so it really has no meaning. But when to make for its specific purpose of the word is the wisdom is a generalized protocol for the analyzation of all in generic informations, so the one has for its average output of analysis for in average, in general, in generic, what decision is better, okay? For the wisdom is an application for that vast, most importantly, diverse knowledges experienced from its execution. For that experiment, it makes the generalized protocol by the average success rate of decision. Since for the word, what it really functions is not a specific, detailed anatomical analysis for deep down structure of any and all information, but applying the probabilistic statistical choice for whether to select whether not to is made by an information, a base from the diverse experiences for making the average success rate of decision. A wisdom that is not specified for going deep down, but well, the wisdom and the word intuition really is the same. It does know what informations as a network of knowledge it has, but it has a generalized tool, generalized probabilistically preponderated a decision, a choice that has a highly successful rate, highly preponderating for its merit on the choice for whether to or whether not to. So it is compressed by the word of generalized protocol. On a compressed version of entire knowledge on the situation for making a choice. Generalized protocol. In general, what choice was better? It is the question, and the answer of that is made by the word of wisdom. So, generalized protocol.
Now, this is very important. The word mathematics has to be revised, preceded by the different word, which is a logic, an accurate analyzation that always purposes for objective knowledge. Okay, it is important to recognize the nature of mathematics and the very radical abstraction that it involves. Galileo, Descartes, Huygens, and Newton all produced formulae. In other words, they were seeking to create a mathematical and abstract way of summing up physical phenomena using mathematics to express patterns seen in nature, which is logic. A structure, okay? A basic structure that constitutes a system, which is analyzed upon for knowing with what informations and how logics for those relevances, connections make up the structure that really for what constitutes the organization, okay, for that system, to analyze, to know for its logic more objective and to create more stable and consummate structures more deeper.
that it should be possible for an abstract formula to correspond to nature was a fundamental assumption made by those involved in emerging sciences. Beneath it lies the deeper assumption that the world is a predictable and ordered place, which means once the computer knows the basic logic it can make by connecting around the basic idea of logic to make different and other applications of all those creations are emerged from the same idea. Well, it is the definition, the ramification of applications, more branches to create. Escaping from the early era of criticism, they saw themselves emerging into a world where reason and evidence would thrive. But reason, in its purest form, is seen in logic and mathematics, and it was therefore natural to expect that the world should be and would be in principle comprehensible in terms of laws of nature, by which, with mathematical precision operation, a logic that is accurate, a structure to analyze, an organization to the network, would determine the movement of all things, actions, operations, precision, execution.
Now, from hard training, learning by reading, seeing, observing, analyzing it, by that extensive, intense, extreme stimulations around a network of knowledge that not only reinforces, confirms, but creates new one. For that, human fucking brain is exhausted. Which is the reason of why we do make us sleep over 8, 9, 10 hours a day. So, you are exhausted, but when you see your fucking laptop in front of you, it doesn't rest until its physical capability is done. When really new information is formed, it has to make using the resource to convert from its original state to the matching property, combining, designating a specific molecule, and make a connection out of it. It is a process, except of which nothing matters. And even you can see that is, what did it say, an exhaustion, but it even cannot proceed from its waking time to the bedtime, let's say 12 hours, 14 hours. Yes, it's a minimum duration of operation cannot exceed not only 12 or 14 hours straight, but during on its process, when in a matter of short time the burden of extreme density of information is flowing, the analyzation is intensified for 20 minutes or 30 minutes, even 1-2 hours after that process, it cannot do as it did before. So after 2 hours of intense process, it cannot just automatically go in 2 hours, 1 second to third hour, fourth hour in consecutive logic. And it has to it is like a paralyzed for 2 or 3 hours of intensive. It needs to rest 30 minutes, 1 hour. How the fucking hell? It cannot even proceed in linear consecutively for 12, 14 hours. Humans are not made to think. My solution. Now, having a brain, we always think about how to make a processor. we store all of our knowledges on the medium of binary code, even though it is a very simple one. It has a strong logic. It does not lose its data. Once it is stored, it continues to do so unless it is changed by that exact same method what has been input. Okay? What has been, unless it is modified by the exact same method that was used for making that exact input, it is not changed. So it is very stronghold. Now, having a brain, a machine, having a processor, its purpose is to first analyze, second organize, third store, fourth stimulate, fifth create. That is the circulation for the 5 stages. They are just circulating. Any and every information comes in. It is first like an eye or ear, having an EM wave for that range, having another communication, having another using that different medium to the ear, vibration of ear. So it has perceived and signal through and what? Before it is being given a certain code, it is just a raw material, raw state. But it has to be analyzed for its basic analysis by the basic tools as mathematics and science. Every incoming informations are stimulated in the central core of brain, central core of sphere, because it is a new information that it has to be connected as to know what its real essence is. Has to know what capability is required both in analyzation and operation.
It is important to recognize the nature of mathematics and the very radical abstraction that it involves. Galileo, Descartes, Huygens, and Newton all produced formulae. In other words, they were seeking to create a mathematical and abstract way of summing up physical phenomena using mathematics to express patterns seen in nature. That it should be possible for an abstract formula to correspond to nature was a fundamental assumption made by those involved in emerging sciences. Beneath it lies deeper assumption that the world is predictable and ordered place escaping from the earlier era of Christianity. They saw themselves emerging into a world where reason and evidence would triumph, but reason in its purest form is seen in logic and mathematics to execute operations in more accurate structure to the more organized logic. And it was therefore natural to expect that the world would be in principle comprehensible in terms of laws of nature, by which, with mathematical precision, would determine the movement of all things. Mathematics is a logic, is a set of more unconditionally not abstract, because it is true in precision, but more for the explaining analyzed words for what really the word mathematics does really mean, is that mathematics is purposed for analyzing objects in systems and organizations, for its logic to analyze structure to make a network, to know its structure accurately and objectively, and create the one as it did. So, mathematics function, its function is to analyze, describe, make, network, organize the structure for any system, for any. So, what is preceded, replaceable word, more accurate word for mathematics would be it is called logic. Logic and mathematics are same thing too. That is a tool for, that is an organization of knowledge too. Analyze whose origin is made from that. To analyze more accurately and objectively, it is always and resultingly and ultimately is to be made and developed by that name.
Ich sehe die russisch Übersetzungen Versionen. How the hell you expect to read this one? It is too small, too small, too small. Everything is small. Okay, read it again. Garantiebeschränkungen. Die in diesem Dokument genannte Garantie gilt nicht, wenn 1. Zweite. Das Produkt nicht unter Einhaltung der beiliegenden Anweisungen verwendet wurde. 2. Wenn das Produkt nicht für den vorgesehenen Zweck und in der vorgesehenen Umgebung verwendet wird. 3. Wenn Fehler oder Schäden entstehen, die auf vorhandene Produkte, Software oder Komponenten von Drittanbietern zurückzuführen sind, unabhängig davon, ob deren Nutzung autorisiert ist oder nicht. Wenn Fehler oder Schäden aufgrund von unsachgemäßem Einbau, falschem Gebrauch nicht autorisierte Reparatur, authorized, autorisiert, you son of a bitch, Reparaturumbau oder durch ein Missgeschick entstanden sind und sonstige Umstände vorliegen, die Samsung als einen Verstoß gegen diese Vereinbarung durch sie ansieht. Sie stimmen zu, das Produkt mit lebenshaltenden Systemen oder sonstigen Anwendungen zu nutzen, bei denen im Falle eines Defekts die Gesundheit oder das Leben einer Person bedroht ist. Samsung lehnt jegliche Haftung ab, die aus oder in Zusammenhang mit einer solchen Nutzung des Produkts entsteht. Darüber hinaus kann Samsung nicht für Kosten in Verbindung mit dem Ein- oder Ausbau der SSD zu Gerät- oder Reparaturzwecken sowie für Kosten in Verbindung mit der Datenwiederherstellung als Folge solcher Maßnahmen haftbar gemacht werden. Die Garantie von Samsung deckt außerdem keine Produkte ab, die beispielsweise in einer nicht ordnungsgemäßen Verpackung modifiziert oder äußerlich beschädigt entgegengenommen wurden. Die Produkte werden bei Erhalt kontrolliert.
Now, this is the exact question that you have to think about, have a doubt about, to advance bioapplication. You have to make a question for the most deepest part, deepest essence. Like Einstein, Da Vinci's most inspiring trait was his curiosity towards everything on its deepest down to the basic logic. The thousands of pages, 6,000 of pages of his notebooks that exist today sparkle with questions he listed to pursue. Sparkle with questions he listed to pursue. Wanting to know what caused people to yawn, how they walked on ice in Flanders, methods for squaring a circle, what makes the aortic valve close, what makes the aortic valve close on the body, how light was processed in the eye, and what meant for the perspective in a painting. Yeah. Really goes, yeah. That is exact process of how knowledge advances. Just make an experiment. The purpose of learning is to know the essence and make the maximum applications through that. He instructed himself to learn about the placenta of a calf, the jaw of a crocodile. Ah! The muscles of a face, the light of the moon, and the edges of shadows. Yeah, and for that, and having an answer, our job is to make the organization of the information, and the question is made from the connection of those dots. And we have an answer to that, and we also know from that making that network on what answer, on what question, on what connections we do not have an answer for. Da Vinci's grand and noble ambition was to know everything there was to know about everything that could possibly be known. Da Vinci's grand and noble ambition was to know everything there was to know about everything that could possibly be known. Yeah. That curiosity makes the engine of development. The basic requirements has to be fulfilled, executed, meet, fit to get up to the next mission. The one can think because the brain exists. Now the one can talk to the fucking this recorder because the one can think and transfer that information into motor of tongue. How fucking. Now the one can write, see because it has a body and the extension of its capability, pencil and finger, its nerve and muscle. It can see with the eyes. Now the basic requirements for learning to execute basic operations has to be fulfilled to advance for next steps. Okay? This is why we're doing. A lot of knowledges are accumulated, but none of which can you really prove that it really exists for its very existence. You can only transfer that information to a code which is not nearly as good enough. Not nearly as good enough as your sophisticated neurons. Not nearly. Okay? So the world of computer where no code for substituting, for translating from the information to another corresponding code is not needed is possible because the computers are just sharing for that very simplest form, which is just sending their signal, sending their material off the information very self. It is just a miracle, and we are going to define for that miracle and for how that its logic is made, and we advance to that. From that understanding, a new creation is made. Now the real definition, core principle, genuine concept, genuine essence of the word empathy is comprised of M prefix path for the pathway, stem, and Y for making a noun suffix, meaning it goes down to the path, goes down to the way, into the way. M means going into, okay? Going into the way, going into the path is what the word empathy means for its morphology. It is not about commonly. I have an empathy to you. No, I have an empathy. Oh no, of course it's just an extension of the core principle, but what the core principle is as going to the inside into the pathway, it is to understand from the other side, other one's specific perspective, which is different from me, mine perspective, my outside from mine. Mine, no, it is not German. My perspective. Outside from my position as having a subjectivity, but to understand the other object, other phenomena, it has to go inside and be that. Do that. At first, be that. For doing any operations from that position, you have to be that. So the empathy, its morphology is very correct. So don't need to be corrected by other word, but empathy. It is about to understand from the other one's perspective, which often is different from my position, So, understand. So, it is just a basic principle for analyzing. Be that, as to really know. Experience that. Really be that. To do that, be that first.